Just a second. Okay. As I said, the built-in functions, it can be aggregate functions, it can be string functions, or math functions, and so on. And they usually have similar, or we can actually say same syntax rules. And they are mostly used in the select part of the statement. Because they all return a value that we need to see. So that means they have to be in the select part mostly, but it's not limited to select part. We can also put them in the where clause of the SQL statements. I will show you the general syntax in the example of sum aggregate function. Usually in the select part, you say select, and then, for example, if it's a sum aggregate function, you put sum, and then here you put, for example, sum of, say, purchase amount from orders table. Okay. This is the general syntax. So any built-in function will look like the name of the function. In this case, it's sum. This means they have like meaningful names, and then you can guess by the name what this function does. In this case, like if it says sum, so this means it will sum the values in a provided column. And then they usually have open and close brackets or parentheses, and within those you give the either it can be column name, or it can be regular string, depending on the type of the function. But this is how the built-in functions look like.
Oh, okay.
And this is how they look like. So you will have the name of the function, and then you will have open and close brackets or parentheses, and within that you provide the column name. There is only one function that does not take anything inside the parentheses. It will always have empty parentheses. You cannot provide anything in the parentheses, but since it's the general format for the functions, that function also has the open and close brackets. That function is getDate function. Okay. In this function, we'll learn it a little later, but for now, just know that this function, even though it has this open and close brackets, you will not put anything in between. And then another thing is you cannot run the function by itself. Like there's no way you can run the function separately from anything else. Like you cannot say sum and then run it. It will give you an error. It has to be within SQL statement. For example, even though you can for example say sum 1 plus 2, for example. This will not even work. Okay. So the functions has to be in as part of the SQL statement.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we know the general syntax for functions. Now we can learn each function and what do they do. So we will be learning each function, and then the syntax will be the same for any function. So it most likely will be within the select statement, and then it will have the name of the function, and then open close brackets, and then in between those brackets you'll provide the value, or most likely it will be column name. and then from whichever table you want to, and so on. Okay? Okay. So today's functions are left, right, carry index, and substring. If we look at them one by one, so left function, what it does is returns the specified number of characters from the left-hand side of the given character expression. Okay? For example, let's first select everything from, say, I think we have salesman table, and now this is what we have in salesman table. Okay, and if we want to if we want to only select a certain number of characters from the values in a column, we can say, for example, let's say I want the first 3 letters of the name from the name column. I can say select left, and then, as usual, open close brackets, and then provide the column name, and then 3, and then from salesman. Okay? This should give me the first 3 letters of the names in this table. Okay? To compare, we can see, and if you take a look, now we have these names, and then the first 3 letters of those names here. Okay, like in here, James Hook, we have J-A-M, and then Nail Knight, we have N-A-I, Pitt Alex, we have Pitt, and so on. Okay. Similarly, the right function works the same way. So instead of left, say right, now it will take the 3 letters from the right side of the name. Okay.
Yeah.
And if we run this, we get the last 3 letters of the names. And if you want to double check, you can see these are the names, and this will be the last 3 letters, because it's the 3 letters, or in 3 characters, from the right side of the values of this column. Okay, so basically what we're saying is take the 3 characters from the right side of the name column. Okay, does this make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Name.
There are many cases that you can use the left or right in the say in the real life, especially let's say, imagine like you have password numbers. Usually the password numbers would start with 2 letters in the beginning and then some 6 or 7 digits, right?
Yeah.
Something like, A, B, and 000 1 2 3 or something. This would be something like a password number, right? This A, B would be the category of the password. Yeah. So if you want to categorize the password numbers, you could say select left 2 from password numbers, and it would give you the only categories of the password numbers, for example. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are many other cases that when you can actually use this left or right function. Okay. So now let's move on to carry index. This is one of the very useful string functions widely used in SQL Server. And what it does is it returns the starting position of the specified expression in a character string. Okay. So what it does, it means is let's take a look at this in action. So as the syntax is, you say char index. This means character index, basically index of the character. That means the position of the character within a certain string. For example, let's say in this word expression, the position of the letter R is 1, 2, 3, 4, starting from the beginning. Okay? So it will return a integer value. It will return basically numbers. Okay?
Numbers.
Yes. So so you say character index, char index, and then say expression to find, expression to search, and then the start location. So this first value to provide would be what you're looking for, and the second value would be where you're looking in, and then the third value would be looking starting from which position you're looking. Okay. Now, for example, if I want to select the first letters of the names, right? I could say so. Basically, this could be achieved with left function also. You could say just left and then name and then just 1. That would give you already the first characters in this string. But let's imagine, okay, not the first letter, but let's say we want to see the second letters in the CT column, okay? That cannot be achieved with left or right function, so because left or right function will only return you certain number of characters in a string from either left side or right side, but char index will actually return the number, the character, index of the character. So char index, and it will not, as I said, it will not return string. So say char index, and we want to search for, let's say, we want to actually, in this name, we want to search for space. Okay. In the name starting from the beginning. So what we're saying is, give me the index of space, let's say, in which position space is located in the name column starting from the beginning, which is 1. Okay? So what it will do is it will start from counting from the first letter, and then it will count until the space. So in this case, James space Hoog, it will do James 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the space is the number 6. So it should return number 6 for me. Okay?
Yeah.
And
Number 6. Yeah.
yeah, if I execute this, you see, if I execute it, you will be able to see the location of the space within this column. Like, to see that, we can do this. So basically, in this name, the space is located at number 6. In this one, 5. In this name, it's 4, and so on. Okay? At this point, it seems like this is something useless, right? Why would I want to know the position of a character, right? But this is very useful when you combine it with different functions. Like, for example, if I want to separate this first name and last names into 2 columns, right? Like, for example, you have some data in the real world, some data coming like this, name and the first and last name are combined in 1 column, but you want to separate the first and last name and put them in separate columns. How would you do that? Because if you want to use the left or right, you don't know which name has how many letters. So if you say, for example, choose the since the name James has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters in the first name, even if you say from the left side pick 5 characters, but that does not work for other names, right? Because other names would have less or more or less characters. For example, if I execute this, it will give me the correct name for James and then Neil, but then these guys lose part of their names, like Loso, Emine, or Michael in this case, or Linky, or whatever. You see, this is these are broken strings. Okay. So to achieve that, we have another expression or function called substring. Okay? Substring basically now it returns substring or a part of the string from the given expression. So the char index returns the position of a specified character within a string. Substring actually returns a string or part of a string. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's see that in action now. So now let's say we have these names in this column, and I want to put the first name and then the last name separate in separate columns, right?
Yeah.
So for that, what I need to do is first let me show you how substring works, and then we'll see how we can come up with the solution. So substring, for example, if you look at this, it will say expression, start point, and then how many letters you want to take starting from this start point. Okay. So what I'm saying is, okay, I want from the column name column, I want to start from number 1, and then say take 5 characters starting from number 1. Okay. And to be able to see that, I will also select the name column as it is, so we can compare. And if I do this, now you can see starting from James, like in this case, starting from the first character, I'm taking 5 characters to the right. So James Hook, I'm taking James, 5 characters. Nail Knight, I'm taking 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably there's a space also, that's why it's 5 characters, and so on. But now this also looks like just like the char index, the left function. And now substring or char index by itself, they are pretty much useless. But if you combine this and some other functions, they will become very useful. So now I will show you how to do that. For example, our objective was to separate this first and last names into 2 columns, right?
Yeah.
For that, what we can do is, you see, this first and last names are separated by space, right? By space. So first name and then space and last name, and first name and then space and then last name. So the delimiter is the space for this names. So what I can do is, I want to take starting from 1 until space. I want to take as a first name. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do I do that? I will say select, and since I want to do a substring, I will do select substring, and now substring the name column, and then where do I want to start? I want to start from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to start from the beginning, so I put number 1, and then until where I want to go. I want to go until wherever the space is, right? I want to go until the space.
Yeah.
Right? So for that, I will show it separately, and then I will combine this, okay? First, let's, actually, we already have it here. So this would give us the position of the space, right, in the name.
Yeah.
Right? So basically, I can take this part. So now I want to substring, char index of the space, I will combine this with the substring. Basically, now I'm putting one function within another. So if you take a look at this, now what I'm saying is, I'm saying start substring from start substring the name from letter number 1, and then go until the position of the space. Okay. So because this char index space within the name starting from 1 gives me the this returns these numbers. These are the actual positions of the space, right?
Yeah.
And then if I execute this, it will give me the first names. You see?
Yeah, first name.
Yeah. And then I can say as first name. Okay. So these are the first names now. Basically, what I'm doing here is I am putting these numbers in front of each of them. So this is the same as saying, for example, say for James Hook, start from number 1 and go until number 6, because that's where the space is, right?
Yeah.
So this works for only James, right? And for the other one, start from number 1, go until number 5, right? If I say number 5, it works for only the second name, in this case, Nail, okay? So instead of hard coding this, or actually there's no way to hard code for each one. Now imagine you have millions of records and you cannot, you know, calculate each name and how many letters the first names have. So instead of doing that, you can say, okay, substring. Substring means take the part of a string in the name column and start from number 1 and then go until the space. Okay? So if I do that, now it gives me the first names. Okay? Now let's say I also want to do the last names. Last name would be different, little difference, because now what we're trying to do here is, if you take a look at this, for the first name, our delimiter was the space, and then starting point was from the first character, number 1. So we basically said start from number 1, go until wherever the space is. But for the last name, now it should be the opposite. We have to start from the space, right?
Yeah.
And then go until the end. Okay? So until the end means how many characters should it be? Because the last names will have different number of characters. For in this case it's 4, in this case 5, 4, 4, and so on. In this case it's 3. So and you don't know which last name has how many characters. But the best way to do that would be, if I say start from the space, that this part is easy, right? Substring name, and then I will give you the char index of the space. This means this is where you should start from, right?
Yeah.
But then where should I stop? So I should tell SQL Server in a way that somehow I should tell it should go until the end. So how do I do that? There is another function called a length. So first let me show you how it works. This length basically shows the number of characters within a string, okay? Like if you look at this, this gives you how many characters does this do these strings or these values have, okay? if I execute this, you can see clearly. So this name has 10 characters. This also has 10. This has 8, and so on. So now, if I say, if I subtract from this number the length of the first name, right? We will get the last name, right? Like in this case, for example, this is the first and last name, right?
Yeah.
And the total number of characters in this name is equals to 10, right?
Yeah.
If I subtract from 10 the number of characters of the first name, right?
Yeah.
We will have the last name. Does that make sense? Like,
number of characters from first name, like
no, like from the total number of characters. This is the total number of characters, right?
Yeah.
We have 10, we have 8, and so on. From the total number of characters, if I subtract the number of characters that are in the first name,
Yeah.
we will have the last name, right? The number of characters in the last name, and this is true for any of the names. For example, if I subtract, in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 from the from 10, we will have 5. In this case, including the space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Yeah.
Well, and for this one, for example, 7. So if I subtract from 7 the number of characters in the first name, in this case 1, 2, I will have 5 also. So space is 1 and then LYON. So this is 5. Okay. So basically, if I subtract from the total number of characters in the string the number of characters in the first name, then I'm getting the last number of characters in the last name plus the space, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I can do that in here. So now what I'm saying is, okay, substring, the name. Now I don't want to start from number 1, right? I want to start from the space. Okay. For that, I will take this expression. So this is I'll put this to instead of number 1. So now this gives me the starting point of the space in each string. Okay. Yeah. Basically, what I'm saying is substring the name column, start from wherever the space is, okay?
Yeah.
And go until length of this column, okay, minus, so now for the length of the first name, what we can do is, we can say, we can say so length of the first name would be the carry index of the space each time, right? In this case, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the space would be 6. So basically, carry index of space minus 1. Okay. So for that, I'm saying for the end, I'm saying length of the name minus this again. Okay. And now this will give me extra extra character, but if you take a look at this, I need to put this in another brackets, or actually maybe I don't have to. And if I execute this one, you see what I'm getting here is I'm basically almost there. Okay, instead of first name, I will say last name. Because we also have the space, I'm getting one letter less. Okay?
Yeah.
If you want to compare.
One letter less here.
Yeah, you see? For hook, I'm getting who. For night, I'm getting knit, and so on. So for that, I need to move it one step to the right. So what I will say is char index of this will, and let's try -1. No, just a second. It has to be here. Oh, okay. So it's the not -1 but +1.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
Now we have the last names. So now if I combine these two, I'll get the first and last name separated. Okay?
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
So we made two more columns from one column and then separated the first and last names.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Do you get the at least the concept?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what we're doing here is we're mixing substring, char index, and length function.
Yeah.
Okay. And we are explaining the SQL Server in its own language what our own logic is. For example, our logic for the first name is we need to start like if we say it in human language, what we would say, okay, if I tell you to show me only the first names, the logical way would be start from the beginning, right? And if it's like, let's say if we have this name, you would say, okay, I want to start from the beginning and take 1, 2, 3, 4 characters, basically how many ever characters there until this space, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so for that, what we're doing is, okay, we're saying substring, because substring, this is what brings you the part of the string, right?
Yeah.
And substring the name column, start from the beginning, because we're saying this is the start position, right? So that's what we're saying. Start from the first character, and then go until the space, because this char index gives me the position of the space, right? I'm saying char index space in the name starting from 1. So this itself will give me the position, location of the space in that string. Okay. Okay. But like otherwise, if you think about it, otherwise I would have, if we hard coded this, I would have had to provide actual number, right? I would say substring name start from position 1 and take say 5 letters. Okay. Instead of doing this, I am making it more dynamic. And instead of providing the number as it is, I'm using this char index, because as I said, this char index will return the location of specified character. In this case, we are specifying the space. Okay. So what we're saying basically is, okay, start from the first letter and go until wherever the space is located. Okay, that would give us the first name, right? Because these first and last names are separated by space. Okay. So that's what we're saying. Start from the first letter, go until wherever the space is located. Okay. This will give me the location of the space, right? Char index space in the name starting from 1. So that's how we were able to find the first name. And for the last name, what I'm saying is, basically I'm saying again substring, because that's what I want to do. I want to take the portion of string, right? So substring returns to the part of the a string. And in this case, what I'm saying is, okay, now I'm saying start from the location of the space You see, substring the name, and now this gives me the location of the space, right?
Yeah.
Start from the location of the space, and then what I'm saying is go until the length of this whole thing minus the location of the space. Okay?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is start from the space, go until all of this thing minus the location of the space. Basically what I'm saying is take the number of characters in this whole first and last name, and then start from space, and then remove the location of the space and until that. So basically what I'm saying is remove this part from the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay? This length, this function, length name, this would give me the whole thing.
The whole thing.
And from there, I'm saying remove, since I'm saying minus, which means subtract, remove the location of the space, the number of characters that are located in the space. So what it does is it removes this part.
Yeah.
In this case, the location of the space is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? It will take all this, starts from the space, and then removes 5. Okay? So if you remove 5 from this whole thing, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It should go 5 this way. Okay? In this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would give me the last name. Okay? Does this make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the substring. Okay. Now let's move on. This is in
Like
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Like we used to do like concat, like first name and last name together. So
Yes.
now we are separating it.
Exactly. Yes. Now it's the opposite. You see, in business, depending on the business, the requirements might be different. ETL developers' main job is to take the information from the source, and source might be any type. Like it could be in files, it could be in different databases, and take that information or data from the source and load it to a destination. And there could be some requirements how to do that. For example, you might have in the source, you might get first and last name separate columns, but in the destination, you might want to put them in one column. In that case, you would use concat. Or it could be the opposite. You might have just like in this situation, you might have the first and last name in one column, and you might want to put this in separate columns. Okay?
Yeah.
This will always be dependent on the requirement. Yes. But now you know the both ways. You can separate the whole thing, or you can concatenate two things. Okay? Or, for example, it could also be the case that you want to, for example, like address field, right? Address field would say the number, home number, and then the street name and the zip code and so on. So you might want to separate all of the zip codes or all of the numbers of the apartment numbers and so on. So in those cases, you would use the substring or carrying this or all combined at the same time. Okay. But yeah, it again depends on the requirement.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's move on. In this case, you see in this presentation, what they're trying to do is they are actually getting the domain names from the email addresses. You see? For example, it's sam@AAA.com, ram@AAA.com, sarah@CCC.com, and they want to get the email domains. You see?
Yeah.
What they're here doing is basically what they're doing, substring the email, find the position of the @ because this is where the domain starts from, right? Just like we did with the first name and last name, instead of the space, now they're finding the position of the @ and then +1. And then the length of the email minus char index, again the position of the email, and as email domain. And this would give you the domain names only from this, okay? So you can get creative with these functions. Again, depending on the requirement, you can create all kinds of useful SQL statements. Okay? Good. Now let's move on to the next set of functions.
Yeah.
So we'll continue the string functions.
Yeah.
So in this one, we'll learn the replicate, space, pat index, replace, and stuff. These are also just like any other functions. They all have the same syntax. So the first one is the replicate function. The replicate function, if you take a look at this example, and you have probably seen in real life in applications, the passwords or the email names or whatever, the sensitive information might be hidden with stars, right? For example, if you don't want people to see the whole email addresses or anything, any sensitive information, you can hide parts of those strings. As you see in this case, they are hiding this email names with stars. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's when we use the replicate function. So
Sorry, like, what's the definition of replicate?
Replicate means to make a copy of.
Oh, make a copy of.
Basically, what it's doing is it's making a copy of this star 5 times.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You will see little, if you look a little down, make the email with 5 stars, you see?
Yeah.
So here, if you look at the syntax, replicate function, you say replicate and then open close the brackets, just as usual for any function. And then a string to be replicated, number of times to replicate. Okay?
Yeah.
What it does is it repeats the given string for the specified number of times. Okay? And if you look at this, what they're doing is they're only leaving the first 2 characters in the email addresses, you see?
Yeah.
This one they're taking only SA and next one RA, and then for the rest, until the @ sign, they're replicating the star 5 times. They're saying substring email start from 1, take 2 characters, plus replicate star 5 times, and then plus substring email, char index @ length, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see that in action. So now basically what we want to do is, let me put comment on this so that you will not, you'll understand. Let's say this one would be selecting the first names. This one would be selecting first and last names. Okay?
Yeah.
And now let's do the replicate. I didn't put the definitions of these functions because I will share these slides with you. Okay?
Yeah.
You can write them down if you want to, or you can just learn them by heart. It doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah.
For now, I'm just putting these examples so you can see how they're built. And
Yeah.
definitions for these functions would be in the slides that I'll give you, or you can actually also look up on the internet. The main point, as I always say, is the understanding the concept, understanding how it's working. Right. In this case, why we're using this length function, why we're using this char index function all together. Okay.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do. Basically, if you take a look at this, we're using two more functions within this one function. Okay, just like if you remember the subqueries, we used to use multiple subqueries in one query, right? You open close the parentheses, and within that you start another select statement, and within that you can start another select statement. So basically, this is it's very similar. We are using this and this functions within this substring function. Okay, that's why we have 1, 2 closing brackets, because we have 1, 2 opening brackets. Okay.
Yeah.
The main point is to open and close the brackets correctly. Okay.
Yeah.
The easiest way would be counting the opening brackets and counting the closing brackets and matching the numbers. Okay. Like in this case, we have 1 opening bracket, 2 opening bracket, 3 opening bracket, 4 opening brackets. So now my closing brackets must be also 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You see?
Yeah.
That's how you match the opening and closing brackets. Okay, now let's move on to replicate function.
Yeah.
So now let's do one thing. For example, in this case, I want to see only the first 2 letters of the first name. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't want to show you the full name. I want to show only the first 2 letters of the first name. In real life, you wouldn't hide the letters of the first name. It would be usually the social security numbers or any type of information, passwords or phone numbers, for example, or addresses, so that people cannot see them as full. Like if you try to log on to your bank app, for example, in their login field, they would have only like first 3 letters of your login, and then the rest would be stars.
Yeah.
So in those kind of situations where you want to hide the part of your sensitive information. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, so far, what this is doing is, this is bringing us this data. This is the full version, and this is the first name, and this is the last name, right?
Yeah.
So now I want to hide the show only the first 2 letters of the first name. So for that, let's see which one is the first name. So this is the part that is bringing the first name, right?
Yeah.
So it's starting from name. So I want the 2 letters of the name. So I will say substring. Okay. Start from 1. Take 2 letters. Okay.
Yeah.
As let's say hidden. Okay. For now. And well, we have to also specify what we're substringing. So we're substringing the name column, right? Okay. So far it's showing me the first 2 letters, right?
Yeah.
And now I want to add stars for the rest. Okay. So as hidden, so I will just like usual, I do concat, kind of I'll say plus, and then I'll say replicate And then if you take a look at this, you say replicate, and then you provide whatever you want to replicate. Okay?
Yeah.
So in our case, okay, let's replicate star. Since star is a string, we put it in single quotes, and let's replicate that again, say 5 times.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now, if I take a look at this, this is what we're getting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting the first 2 letters of the name and then stars for the rest. Basically, we are hiding the rest of the names, and I can basically just remove or comment this part. So now what I'm getting is I'm getting the first 2 letters of the first name and then full last names.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So this is how you hide the part of sensitive information. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now let's move on. The next function would be space function. Okay. This is very similar to replicate function, but instead of replicating any string, it will only replicate space. Okay. So let's say now you have need to put spaces multiple times. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You want to separate if say this first name and last names are very close to each other. You want to separate them from each other.
Mm-hmm.
What you can do is you can basically do, for example, in this case, what we have now here is let's say we have first and last name as separate columns, right?
Yeah.
We can actually not put them as separate columns, but we can do them as concatenation. Mm-hmm. And say, let's say instead of first name, I'll say plus, I want to have, say, 5 spaces in between. Okay?
Yeah.
So I say space, and then I say how many spaces I want. In this case, we want 5 spaces, and then I would say plus, and then again this substring, and then this would be as full name now. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Basically what I'm trying to do is put the first and last name separated by 5 spaces. You see?
Yeah.
If you see this, now we have this first name, this last name, and in between we have 5 spaces. That's why they're now separated. Okay? And since this one doesn't have the last name, it's just standing by itself. Okay? Yeah, but for the rest, you can see it just basically what it did is it put 5 spaces in between this first and last names. Okay, so that's what space does. It can be used in real life. There might be situations when you might want to use it, but personally, I think this is not very clean way of formatting the data. But
yeah,
just in case, in the future, if you get a requirement like this, you can use this space function. Okay? Okay, let's move on to next one. Next one is pat index. So in the previous one, we had the char index, right? That would give us the location of character, right?
Yeah.
What pat index does is it gives the location of a pattern in a string, a specific pattern. Pattern means some sort of combination of characters in a string that are specified. So if you take a look at the definition, it says returns the starting position of the first occurrence of a pattern in a specified expression. If you provide a pattern, it will find the first occurrence of that pattern within a string. First occurrence means if that same pattern is repeated many times in one string, it will only show you the first occurrence.
Mm-hmm.
It takes two arguments, the pattern to be searched and the expression. Pet index is similar to char index. With char index, we cannot use wildcards, whereas pet index provides this capability. If the specified pattern is not found, pet index returns 0. Okay? So, for example, in this example, what they're trying to do is it's saying select email and then the pet index of @AAA.com in the email. You see? As first occurrence from this table where pet index is greater than 0. Why greater than 0? Because if it's not there, it will return 0. We want only the ones that are there. Okay? Now let's see this in our action. So basically, we'll just copy this again and then say pet index. Okay. And if you take a look at this, the first argument would be the pattern that you're looking for, and then the second argument would be the column that you're looking for that pattern. Okay. Now let's see. Since we have only names, I don't think there's any pattern in these names, but let's see this. Since we have this Linkin Park 3 times, I guess this could serve as a pattern. Okay. So now what we'll do is we'll say select path index, okay, of starting with anything, and then it should be something like Lin. We're looking for Linkin Park, and then it could end with anything, and then we're looking in the name column, okay? And as in this time, not as full name, but as pattern, okay? And if I execute this, it will give me 0, 0, 0 for this ones, and then it will give me 1, 1, 1 for this ones. So because it would be more visible if I also selected the name column itself also. You see, what we're looking for is this pattern, LIN, right?
Yeah.
And if there is no such pattern, it will return 0. If it's there, it will return the position of that pattern within this string. The position of that pattern is 1 because it's right in the beginning, okay? LIN. And if I say instead of, now I'll just put a comment, position is 1 because it's at the beginning of the name, okay? And now let's look for some other pattern. Instead of looking for LIN, let's look for something that's ARK, okay?
Yeah.
So that you will see not only 1, but it can also return something else. You see, now it's returning number 9, okay? Because we said ARK, and if you count this, Linkin Park, 1, 2, 3, let me copy this so you will see the starting position of, we're looking for this pattern, right? ARK. If we count, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So number 9 is the starting position of that pattern within this string. Okay. So that's what it's showing you.
Yeah.
Okay. And you can get rid of the zeros because if that pattern is not there, we don't want to see them. So for that, you would just say this where this is greater than 0, right?
Yeah.
Or you can say not equal to 0, it doesn't matter. whichever way you want. So we'll get only the ones that have this pattern. Okay? You can say either this or just greater than 0. Okay? It will give you the same.
Yeah.
So in this one, the position is 9 because it's at the, well, I'll just remove this. It's obvious that it's at position 9. Say this pattern starts at position 9. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what a path index does. It basically will tell you the location of specified pattern within a string. Okay?
Yeah.
Just like char index, but this char index was showing you the position of one character. That's why it's called char index, because it's the position of the character. And this one is path index. This is the position of a pattern. Okay, we're looking for this pattern, ARK, or in this case, LIN. Okay, so that is the only difference. Now let's move on. The next one is replace function. Now what you can also do is you can find something and then you can replace that with something else. Okay?
Yeah.
In this case, what they're trying to do is they're finding .com. You see all of these domain names, AAA.com, CCC.com, BBB.com, and so on. They're finding that .com and replacing it with .net. So it will become AAA.net, CCC.net, BBB.net, and so on. Okay? This is especially useful when you have some incorrect data, like misspelled data, or in this specific case, if the domain name has changed, you don't have to update row by row. You will just say, okay, find this 3 letters and then replace all of those with this new things.
Like we do with in Word, we just Control F.
Yeah, exactly. Control F, and then I guess it's replace. Yeah. And then you specify what to find, and then you specify what to replace that with, and all that.
Yeah.
It's very useful.
Yeah.
Let's try that in action. Now, I'll copy paste this and say replace. Now let's in our case, it's, I don't know, like we don't have any specific like pattern that we can replace, but let's try replacing anything. I want to see what we can replace. Salesman. Let's see what do we have here. Okay, we can actually select, say, we have London 2 times. Let's replace London with, say, Tashkent. Okay? So what we do here is we're trying to replace the city. So we, as it says here, we'll find this city in this column and then put the name and then the replacement value. So we'll say replace. We're trying to replace in the city. And then we want to find London and replace that with Tashkent. Okay? If you look at this, we have 1 London, 2 London, and we don't have any Tashkents. Now if I execute this, we should have Tashkent, Tashkent. Okay? Yeah, it will just basically replace it. But you see, this is not update it. It's just in our select statement. Okay.
Yeah.
The table has not changed. It's only selecting it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
It's not updating it. Table is still same. The London is still there. It's showing it as replaced. But
I just showing it.
yeah, it's just showing it. It's physically not there. Okay.
Okay.
If you want it to be physically there, you know the update statement that we have learned.
Mhm.
You'll just say update this table, set this column equals to Tashkent, where this column equals to London, and that there it would update it, and that new data would be physically in that table. But here, if you see, I'm selecting the city, and you can see the London is still there.
Yeah.
Okay. And then as my second column, I'm just selecting the same city, but I'm replacing the London with Tashkent. So this column is the actual physical data that's there. Okay. So London is still there. And the second column, let me put as replaced value. Okay. This is only the replaced value, but physically it's not there. Okay. None of these functions so far that we have seen, car index, substring, or any of those, they will not change the actual data. Okay.
Yeah.
They will only select the data in a different way, but physically the data does not change. Okay. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah. So, but if we don't change, we just need it for information or the reference sheet.
That is the first thing. Yeah, you might just need that as an information, or just as a to make it more presentable.
Yeah.
Or most importantly, you will need it when we learn the SSIS, the integration tools, when you are trying to move the data from a source. Now imagine this is your source, right?
Yeah.
But to your destination, you want to move the London as Tashkent.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you cannot change the source.
Yeah.
You want the source to stay as it is, but you want your destination to be different.
Yeah.
So that's when you use these functions. You will pull this data, you will extract this data differently from the source, but at the same time, source will stay the same.
Yeah.
Because usually, like in 99% of the times, you do not have permissions to change the source.
Yeah.
You can only read the source. You cannot change the source. Okay?
Yeah.
That is also wrong, because you don't want to change the source, because you always want to have the data as it is somewhere. Because if you change the data in the source, now you have no idea what the data looked like before. So you should always have the original version of the data, and then you can change and load it to somewhere else, like into a destination, however you want, and again, based on the requirements. But yes, these functions will not change the actual physical data. These are only they will only show you, select the data as however way you want, but they will not actually change the data. The data physically will not change. Okay? If you want to change the data physically, we have learned the update statement or delete statement or insert or whatever. Those actually change the data. They actually modify the table. Okay?
Yeah.
But these functions do not change the data. They will only show the data in a different way. Okay?
Yeah.
Let me put that in the beginning. The following functions do not change the data. Okay? So they will only show or retrieve the data in a different way. Okay? But the original data will not change. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Now let's move on. Before that, let me save this. Okay, now let's move on, and the next one is stuff. This function also is very similar to, it's kind of a combination of replace and, what was the other one? Replicate. Okay?
Yeah.
So what it does is, so our stuff function inserts replacement expression at the start position specified, along with removing the character specified using length parameter. Okay? So basically, if you look at this, you remember when you had accidentally hit the insert button on your keyboard, right? You remember that time? Then we have to find the insert.
Yeah, I remember.
So it very much works like that. Like, for example, let's say we have this string, right? This is a string, okay? Now, if I hit the, if I want to write something like A, B, C, this part is still there, right?
Yeah.
This part. But now, if I hit the insert, you see, insert, and now if I say A, B, C, what it's doing is it's actually inserting this new characters by removing the old ones, right?
Yeah.
You see, it's basically removing this ABC. If I say D, it removes that S, and then E, and then F, G, H, I. So basically, this is what it's doing, right? If I hit the insert, it removes and replaces the existing characters, right?
Yeah.
So this is how stuff works. So stuff, for example, in this case, if I say stuff email, start from number 2, and put this for the next 3 characters. This will, if you take a look, if it's saying, we're saying start from number 2, so it's skipping number 1 and starting number 2, and then it's like inserting this 5 stars. So you see, like, you know what stuffed animal is, right?
Yeah.
Stuffed animal is like a toy that has stuff in it. So like soft stuff. Yeah, like soft stuff. That's what stuff is also verb. Stuff is to put something into something else.
Yeah, it's because I'm stuffed, like I'm full.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you have something like, you know, inside. Like you have stuffed food inside, you can say, I guess. So that's why this is called stuff. This is basically the same thing. It functions, as it says, you see, it inserts replacement expression at the start position specified, along with removing the character specified using length parameter. Okay? So now let's take see that in action. Let's say select. I will say the name column, so we can see the original data also, and then stuff. Okay, and then you want to specify the column name first, which column you want to stuff, right? So in our case, we'll say stuff name column, and then this is the start, and then the length, and then this replacement expression. So from which character do you want to start with, and then for how many characters do you want to insert that to? Okay. So let's say we want to leave the first letter, and we want to also start from the second character, and then we want to insert into the next 3 characters this value. Let's say in our case, let's say we want to insert this 3 or 4, say 5 pound signs. Okay. And we'll say it as stuff from salesman. Okay. Now, if you take a look at this, you see what's happening?
Yeah.
It's starting from number 2, right? And taking 3 letters. In this case, James, starting from J, taking A, M, E, and removing those, and putting this 5 characters instead of those. You see?
Yeah.
Basically, what's happening is, if I want to show you in a separate way. So this is what we're saying. Start from character number 2, right? In this case, starts from A. We're saying start from number 2. And then replace the next 3 characters with this. So it starts from number 2. Yeah, it takes 3 characters after 2. Okay? And it removes that. Okay? It removes those 3 characters and then replaces them with these characters that we specified. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
So
but yeah, like you said 3, but you put 4 pound characters, so it can be like that. Yeah, like. So.
This 3 means remove the existing 3.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And then just remove them and then put whatever is here.
Oh, okay.
Okay? It doesn't matter, like it doesn't have to match the number of characters, okay? You can remove basically 1 character and then put 10 characters instead of 1.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter. The idea is, this is the start point. Start from there, remove this many characters, and replace that with whatever is in here. Okay? Now let's try another example. Let's say we want to start from number 2, remove, or to be obvious, start from number 1, okay? Remove 1 character and replace that 1 character with $2 signs. Okay? So now what it should do is, for this James Hoog, it should say, it should remove this first character, since we said start from number 1, remove 1 character, right?
Yeah.
So it starts from number 1, removes this 1 character, right? So it removes it, and then instead of that 1 character, it puts this $2 signs, okay?
Yeah.
So this is what it will look like.
Yeah. Okay.
If I execute this, you see? Here. It removes the first letter and then replaces that with these $2 signs for each of them. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what stuff does. Stuff basically removes the certain number of characters and replaces them with specified values. Okay?
Yeah.
Whereas replace would basically replace would do pretty much the same thing. It would just remove, instead of removing number of characters, it would actually remove the string itself. You see, you don't specify a number, you specify actual string in replace. But in stuff, you say, okay, remove whatever is there, start from whatever, and then replace how many ever characters you want with whatever you want. Okay? Okay, let's move on. So this is another type of string functions. Now, most important and another like very commonly, actually I would say 99% of the time you would use it. You cannot not use this. All right, you will always use this. It's date time functions in SQL Server. Okay, this is a very important topic. Okay, what is a date time function? If you remember in the beginning of this lesson, I showed you the getDate function, right? So in this one, we'll learn the date time data types and date time functions and understand the UTC time and time zone offset. So first of all, what is date time data type? Well, as the name says, this is a data type that stores date and time. Okay. So, for example, now I will put this in a separate window. Date time functions. Okay. And the most commonly used date time function is called getDate. Select getDate, and this is the only function that has empty brackets. Okay, you don't have to put anything. It doesn't accept any arguments in the parentheses, like the other ones. Inside the parentheses, all of these functions, you see, it would accept like column names or number of characters, all of this, you see. But getDate function does not accept anything, any argument. And what it does is, it simply returns you the system date. Okay? If you execute select getDate, it will return the system date and time. My system date time is 7:33 p.m. and if I execute this, I will get 1933 minutes, seconds, milliseconds, or nanoseconds, and also the date, 2019, June 24th. Okay? And now this might seem very useless. Like, okay, why don't I just look up on my, computer? Right? But this is like, you can believe it or not, this is the most useful function ever. Because, especially when you work as an ETL developer, we have something called audit columns. Audit column means, so it's called audit. Okay? What it means is this function gives you the ability to track every single row and when that row was loaded. Okay, you can go and, for example, you would have audit column here as a third column, and it would show you, for example, let me copy this to this window. Select all from salesman, or select all, and then plus the get date as loaded date from salesman. Okay? You see? Something like this. This is called an audit column. So basically what it's saying is this row was loaded on this time. Okay?
Okay.
So this is like very small use case for this. There is so much more use cases for getDate function. Okay?
Yeah.
For example, let's say we also have date of birth column. We want to calculate the age of a person. Okay. For example, let's say for our like in this example, we do not have. Let me create one table really quick. Okay. Create table. Let's say personal info, and let's say we have ID as an integer column, name as Varkar, let's say 20, and okay, name D and date of birth, okay, as a date time, okay. So this simple table, and now let's insert some data into it. Insert into personal info. Values, say 1, A, and the date of birth would be, let's say, 1988, 0319, okay? And let's insert multiple. Let's insert like 1, 2, 3 more. And let's say we have person number 2, name is B, date of birth is 1925. Okay. We have person number 3, name is C, date of birth is 1999. And we have person number 4, name is D, and let's say this person was born in 2017. Okay? Insert into the values. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. What is wrong? Insert into this. Value is this. Okay. So execute it. Okay. Now, if we take a look at this, and if I select all from this table, so this is what we have now. Okay. Yeah. The IDs for the people, and then the names of those people, and then date of birth. Okay. As you can see, since we provided only date, yeah, you see it doesn't have the time. It's only the dates, right? Right. Yeah. And our column is a date time column. See, this is not only date column but also date time column. Yeah. It's storing the time part as 00. Okay. If we go here, these are the types. Okay. I will send you the slide, and you'll see. First, let me explain how the different date time formats work. So time, if you have a time format, it stores only the time, okay? Like hours, minutes, seconds, and nanoseconds. Okay? And the accuracy is 100 nanoseconds. And the storage size is 3 to 5 bytes. Yeah. And then the date, it stores only the date. Year, month, and day. Okay. Accuracy is 1 day, and then size is 3, and so on. Small date time. This is this is that, and so on and so on. And we are using the date time format, which stores year, month, day, hour, minute, second, and milliseconds or nanoseconds. And the size is 8 bytes. You see, this difference with date and date time is 5 bytes. Yeah. This is bigger. So date time takes more space than on date. That's why it's wiser to use this as needed. Like, for example, to store date of birth, you don't need the date time. You only need the date, right?
Yeah.
Like if you need someone's date of birth, you wouldn't ask for like hours and minutes. You would only ask for the date. So it's wise to use date column type, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of using date time, because you will save 5 bytes per each entry,
Mm-hmm.
and that adds up, okay?
Yeah.
In our case, we use the date time, which is not wise, since we said it's a date of birth and we are using date time. Instead of date time, we should have used date. That would be smarter. But we don't have any storage problems, so it's okay. Okay? But you should know when you're creating a table or inserting a value or moving your data or whatever, you should be smart enough to know which type of this date time format do you need according to your the characteristics of your data.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's move on. And okay, one more thing. UTC. This means you've probably heard this many times, but it's called UTC time. That's standards for coordinated universal time. It stands for the coordinated universal time. Even though the abbreviation is UTC, it's actually CUT. This is for some reasons. So based on which the world regulates clock and time and so on and so on. This is like technicality. Like there's also GMT, right? Greenwich Mean Time. You know where the Greenwich line is? That's like it crosses I guess it's London, somewhere near London.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what that means is, for example, if in this clock, right? I will show you the clock. Let's say.
In America, it's different. Like in North time, like Pacific time.
Oh yeah, that's you see, like in the United States, that's the United States time zone, not the world time zone.
Oh yeah, United States time zone.
Yeah, that only is in the United States itself. Okay. But this UTC or GMT, they are worldwide standards.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like if let me, I cannot open this thing, but let's see. I want to show you what exactly that means. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If we go to settings, and let's say personalization is updated to the time and language. Okay. And now date time set data automatically. We switch this off. Change date and time. Okay, not this one. Okay, time zone. Yeah. You see it says UTC -6. This is the offset. This is called the offset. Like for example, at this moment the time is 7:43 p.m. right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if and we are in UTC -6.
Yeah.
And if I put this to UTC time, coordinate universal time, you see?
Mm-hmm.
This should, it's not showing. Oh, okay, here. You see, now it's showing as 12:44 a.m. You see?
Oh, okay.
Because now this is the time in Greenwich. Greenwich is in London. Okay? So this is the UTC time. So whatever the other times are based on this. If it's UTC minus, that means it's later than that time. If it's plus, it's before that time. Okay.
Okay. What about Greenwich time? It's a different one.
It's pretty much the same thing. Greenwich and the UTC is the same thing. Okay?
Yeah.
At least like at least in functionality, it's the same thing. Like the Greenwich would show me the same time as this is showing me right now. Okay. And this +5, -5, these are called the UTC offset.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you see here it's already showing me 12:45 a.m. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we will remove that and we'll just say set time zone automatically. Now it gets it from my GPS and so on. Okay, and now my time is back to normal. Okay.
Yeah, our time is the same, like in Texas and Tennessee.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that is what UTC stands for.
Yeah, yeah.
And now these are the different time datetime functions. Get date, we already know. It returns it's very commonly used, and it returns the system get date. I mean system date time. Okay. And there's another one that's called current timestamp. And it's same thing as the get date. It's as you see, it's NSI or NC SQL equivalent to get date. NC stands for American National Standardization Institution or something. Okay, this is basically the same thing. And you can also do the same with sysDateTime function. These all return the same thing. You see, as it says, it returns the system date time. But it's a little more fractionally. It has 4 more digits. You see, it returns like get date or current date stamp. It returns to 3 digits in the nanoseconds, but this will return like 7 digits in the nanoseconds part. Okay.
Yeah.
System date time offset. This is mostly used with UTC. You see, you say you get the system date and plus 1 hour, for example. Now this will change the position of your system date to 1 hour plus from the UTC. And if you do the get UTC date, it will get you that 12:45 a.m. thing, which is the UTC time. Or system UTC date time will also get the same thing plus 4 more nanosecond digits. Okay.
Yeah.
You can try them all. For example, let's try current timestamp, system date time, get UTC date, and so on. System date time, or the next one is current timestamp. And we can also say system date time offset. Okay. System date time offset, and then this returns the offset from the UTC. And get UTC dates. See, these are all the functions. If we execute all of this, oh yeah, we forgot the parentheses. And here also, okay, we forgot the parentheses in all of those. You see, all of these date time functions use the parentheses, but you don't usually put anything in those parentheses. And we forgot the commas.
And that's
Okay.
one.
So let's select one by one. Okay, so this one, see, system date time. It's same as the get date, but more fractions, 4 more fractions. Okay. Okay, this one. Okay, this one doesn't have the parentheses. Okay, this is the same as get date. System date time offset. See, this is the offset.
Offset.
Yeah, see, it says -5 at the end. See, if I copy it here, see this part, it says -5. This is the offset from the UTC. Okay.
Yeah.
And to check that, we can see this. This is the UTC time right now. Okay. 00, 50, and whatever. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure why it's saying offset -5. It should be -7, I think. But I'm not sure about that. Well, that's, yeah, that doesn't really matter as long as you know what it returns. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's move on. And okay, is date, month, I guess we'll finish with this one. There's two more that we have to cover today, but it's okay, we'll cover them tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So now this is the rest of the continuation for the date time functions.
You said that we very frequently use it in the real world, yeah?
Yes, it's very commonly used, especially in those audit columns, ETL, and you will most likely get many columns with dates. Like any company would store the dates of any functions that they perform. Like for example, if be it car company, they would probably store the dates of each car was sold, or if it was a bank, they would store the dates of each transaction. If it was hospital, they would store each, date of like each patient's operations or whatever, anything. So basically, many things are stored in date time. Okay,
Yeah.
so you will get this a lot in real world. The usage you'll use this get date or date time functions a lot.
Okay.
Okay, so in this session we'll learn the isDate, day, month, year, and date name, and a practical example of using these functions. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is again the same thing, the types that we just went through, and this is again the functions. And the first one is the isDate function. IsDate function basically returns 1 or 0. What it does is it actually checks the data if it's date time format or something else. Okay. IsDate function. Let's say select isDate, say ABC. Okay. So ABC is not a date, right?
Yeah.
So it should return 0. This means if it returns 0, it means it's not a date. Okay?
Yeah.
Returns 0 because ABC is not a date. Okay? And if I do select isDate get date, okay? Since the get date is a date time format, okay? It should return 1. You see?
Yeah.
It means it's true. It's really a date time. Because get date is a date format. So why do you use this? So isDate function in real life, you use it to check or to validate the data that's coming. For example, imagine you have like millions and millions of rows, and that has date time column, right? And for some reason, some of those rows were stored incorrectly. Okay. So you first want to check each of those and return only the only the ones that are valid date times. Okay. Like for example, let's select from this table. Okay. See, now we have all these date formats, right? Let's say, let me insert one more data. Let's say I want to insert the same thing for next row, but I want to insert that into name column. Okay? Oh. So this would be number 5. Okay? If I select this, I get this. Okay? And now, let's see what happens. Where name is date name equals to 1. Okay? So what I'm saying is, where in the name column only return or only select the values that look like date time. Okay? You see, if I select everything from this table, I have this in the name column. I have A, B, C, D, and then this date format, right? And I'm saying from this name column, select only the values that look like date. Okay? Not like names, not like A, B, C, D, but actual date.
Yeah.
Okay? Because sometimes date format might be stored in a varchar column also. You see, this name column is actually a varchar column, right?
Yeah.
But since it's a varchar, it's okay to store this also. This can count as a varchar also, right?
Yeah, because it has dash.
Yes, because it has dash. That's why the varchar column accepts this value. But in reality, this is date, right?
Yeah.
So I want to separate the dates from varchars. Okay?
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying in here, I'm saying select everything from this personal info table where name column is a date. Okay? You see, it's saying is date. When the name column is a date equals to 1, right? As we saw, if this function returns 1, it means it's a date. If it's 0, it's not a date. So if I put 0 here, it will return the other 4. See?
Yeah.
If I put 1, it will return only this date one. Okay? So this is when you use this isDate function to validate the data.
Okay.
So because if you want to store, say, in these names into a date time column, but in that date time column, I mean in the name column, you have also this varchar values that you cannot store in date time column, right? It cannot go to date time column. So it will give you an error. That's why you want to first filter this column where it has this date time values. Okay? And once you have filtered it, you will only select those and then copy this to destination. So basically you're validating your data if it fits into date time column.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's move on to next one. So this is what isDate function does. Checks if the given value is a valid date, time or date time. Returns 1 for success, 0 for failure.
0 for failure.
Okay? Yeah. For date time 2 value, isDate returns 0. So it doesn't work with the date time 2 format. It only works with the date time format, but not with date time 2. If you look at this one, date time 2, It has more nanoseconds. Okay. Date time has 3 nanoseconds and 3-digit nanoseconds, and then date time has like 7-digit nanoseconds. Okay. Okay, let's move on. And there's this function called day, month, year. You can actually return the day or the month or the year from any date. Okay.
Yeah.
And it will return them as numbers. For example, in this case, if you want to select get date day part of the get date, it will return 31. If it's month, it will return 1, and year is 2012. Let's see that in action. Okay. Okay. So what we're doing is day, month. Basically, what we're trying to do is separate the parts of the date. Like, for example, if I select get date, this is date time, right? And it has parts. It has the year part, it has the month part, and it has the day part, and an hour, and a minute, second, nanosecond, right? So if I want to see only the year part, okay, I don't want to see all of this. I only want to see the year. Okay. I can say select the year part of the get date. Okay?
Yeah.
And it will show me 2019. Okay?
Yeah.
If I want to select, say, month, it will show me 6, which means June, right?
Yeah.
And if I want to do the day, it shows me 24, which is the day. You see, this is very easy syntax. You're basically saying select the day or month or the year of get date. Get date means today, right now. Okay? When can we use this? We can use it like in this our example, let's say. Right? We have date of birth, right? And I want to see not the date of birth, but I want to see the years of birth. Okay?
Yeah.
So for that, I can say select all, and then also say year of birth. Year of date of birth column. Okay? So it will show me this. See?
Yeah.
For this person, the year the year of birth was 1988. For the other one, 25, 1999, 2017, 1988.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what the day, month, and year do. So I will say this return the parts of the date in as integer. Okay? It will return as integer as numbers. Okay. Okay. The next one is okay. Is date? We did it. The next one is date name. This is like very useful. Date name. It returns the name of the date, and if you say date name day, it returns the name of the day. Date name week, it returns the name of the weekday, basically, and month, name of the month. Okay? Let's see that in action also. So the function is called date name. Returns name of the date part. Okay?
Yeah.
Now let's say I want to see year of birth. Okay, that's fine. And then date name and say, for now, let's say month of date of birth column. Okay? You see? If I execute this, it will show March, 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 March. Because all month is 3. Okay? And if I also want to add date name weekday, for example, okay, it can also show the day of the week. Okay, so this was Saturday, Thursday, and so on. So basically, I was born on Saturday. Looks like.
Yeah.
So this is this date name function is very useful. You can basically get the day names, name of the month, year, and so on. You see?
It extracts from like date history, yeah. So it's a system, like.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you can put any year, like
yes.
1920.
Exactly. Yeah, because you see, it's not necessarily the say. It doesn't store all of that information. It just calculates it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't have to necessarily store, but there's a function that calculates it based on the year, month, and so on. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can return this kind of information. Okay. And basically, you can say, actually, this is very useful when you want to make your data more readable. For example, I can say with concat, say select, let's say concat, and say person plus name, well, I guess concat was, no, without the concat. Let's do it without the concat, but person plus name plus was born plus was born in, and then we say month. Okay. And now we can say plus day, month, let's say let's say of, for example, something of this year plus say on and plus weekday. This is just simple example. Name. Oh, I forgot the from part. Personal. Oh yeah, now we have to convert, but basically this is how you would do it. Like you would concatenate all of this, and you can personalize all this information, and it would return you this person A was born in this, and so on and so on. Okay. But we have to cast and convert all of this for now, but we don't have much time for that. But the idea was to show you that you can take the name and then month, day, and year, and weekday, and so on, and then it would show you as a string. This person was born on this and that and that in words. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But for this we have to convert all this varchar values into integers. So that's fine. Okay, let's move on now. Okay, day, month, date, name. Oh, okay, that's it. Looks like. Okay, so does it make sense to you? The this one's the date, name, and this and all this.
Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's not as difficult as like subqueries or joins.
Oh yeah, these are very easy. That's why I wanted to cover as many as possible today. So we basically covered about like, I don't know, 4 or 5 classes, I guess. But it's fine. Yeah, these are very easy. The main thing is you need to know the general syntax for this, as I explained in the beginning. So you basically put the name of the function, and within the parentheses you put the column name or any string name. And that's the same syntax for all of these functions. Okay. And you can, and then you just switch between the functions and play with it and do whatever you want based on your requirements. Okay. Okay. I hope it all makes sense to you. I guess we can stop from here, and I'll send you this class files, and just continue working on those exercises wherever you left off. Like do 10 or 15 more of each again. Okay.
Okay.
Like aggregate functions. I think you finished them. Is it, or you didn't finish them?
I finished aggregate. Yeah.
Okay, then it's only the joins and subqueries now you're working on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's finish those two. Like, I mean, not tomorrow, but continue doing like 15 each day from subqueries and joins also, and just play with these functions. Okay.
Yeah.
At least you see these are very easy, so I think you can make like 10 examples. Okay.
Yeah.
Mix all of this, like use datetime functions, use substring, use all this pad index and all that. Just 10 simple examples. I want to see that you're able to actually use this. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, good. Then I guess I'll see you tomorrow. I will send you the files and the slides.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. See you tomorrow then. Thanks. Bye.